right, good morning. Thanks for your patience this morning as we were waiting for everyone to get here. Our first item on the agenda is public comment. Anyone from the public would like to speak, please introduce yourself, and you have 3 minutes. Thank you.
Hello, how's everybody doing? Happy October. I just want to say I'm thankful to be alive, thankful just to be able to do the cool things that I do. I want to first of all give a shout out to my younger cousin. He's 18, he goes to TSU, which is Division I college, historical black college, Texas Southern University. And he's the captain of the NBA 2K25 esports team. And he actually used to play traditional sports, football and basketball. But as I drove all of his parents' stuff in a U-Haul from here to Texas, it was a long drive, but I love my loved ones. And he got there and he actually died on a basketball court, and he had a heart problem and they had to bring him back to life. And so now he plays esports because it's a thing that isn't physical, but he still gets to play basketball. And so I helped my little cousin get his, I'm actually in the process of helping him get an NIL agent in his first NIL deal. I think he'd be the first young black person at his school to get an NIL deal. And so I'm really helping him be able to navigate through the collegiate processes because he's getting some college scholarships, but he still has to pay out of pocket to be able to go to the school. And so with me being able to help him, I connected him to an NIL agent, and this NIL agent is actually connected him to another person and got him another deal on the floor. So right now my cousin is actually looking at like 3 NIL deals in the last couple of days of me connecting him to an NIL agent. So just wanted to uplift my cousin because me helping him out is only going to be able to help me help other young black youth and other different youth of different ethnicities across the community, give them the same opportunities and guiding and navigating through the collegiate process in this esports industry that I work in. So I'm very excited to be able to give back to the community, to be working on this game jam with Epic Games, to be able to bring Epic Games to the state of Michigan. That's going to be really cool, a powerful thing to do, especially it being a $32 billion company that got a $1.5 billion investment from Disney. I'm really excited to be able to work with them and be able to bring them to one of our universities here. And continuously working on the Youth Justice Influence League, which I have in partnership with the 17th Circuit Court. I'm just excited just to be able to continuously give back because soon, eventually, we'll actually have esports labs here across the city of GR, and kids will be able to compete and get scouted by different colleges and compete against other states eventually in state championships across the nation. So very excited for the future of esports for our city, for our county, for our state. And just excited just to be alive and to be a pioneer and helping people pioneer and realize their dreams and goals, because as I'm giving back to the youth are inspiring others to see their visions too. Thank you.
All right, thank you, D. Jones. Anyone else for public comment here today? All right, seeing none, our next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda? So moved by Commissioner McLeod. Is there support? Support by Commissioner Green. Any questions or comments? All right, seeing none, all those in favor, please say yes. Yes. All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes. Item number 3 is from the Administrator's Office, and it's the Acrisure Amphitheater Parking Structure Agreement.
Action requested. Recommend to the Board of Commissioners to approve an agreement between the Grand Rapids Kent County Convention Arena Authority, or the CAA, and the City of Grand Rapids, allocating revenues for the purpose of making payments for bonds necessary to construct a parking garage at the Acrisure Amphitheater. Summary. Under Article XE of the CAA's Articles of Incorporation, Kent County and the City of Grand Rapids are required to approve all agreements, obligations, or commitments by the CAA that are more than 5 years in duration. As part of the Acrisure Amphitheater plan, the CAA is proposing to own and operate a 340-space parking garage that will provide capacity for visitors to the amphitheater and the surrounding area. The City of Grand Rapids plans to issue bonds in the amount of $24.3 million to cover the costs of constructing the parking garage. Under the agreement, the CAA will use unrestricted revenues to pay bond payments for the parking garage. The Administrator's Office has reviewed the operating pro forma and concluded that the revenues are sufficient to cover the bond payments. The agreement also obligates the CAA to fund a debt reserve account to be held by the city in an amount equal to 150% of the annual debt service payments on the bonds issued by the city. The duration of the agreement will be no longer than 40 years or as long as it takes to pay the bonds, whichever is earlier. Corporate Counsel has reviewed and approved CAA authorization to sign the agreement.
Thanks, Al. Is there a motion for this item? Moved by Commissioner Hildenbrand, support by Commissioner Oliver King. Questions or comments on this? Yes, Commissioner Wooden.
Thank you, Chair. Just to confirm, the unrestricted revenues to pay bond payments, that means essentially the paying for using the parking is the revenue source, correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
Yes, Commissioner McLeod.
Thank you, Chair. I just had a question about the structure itself. So it says it's going to be 340 spaces. What percentage of the parking needs is that going to cover?
That is a great question. We do have Kara Wood here from Grand Action 2.0.
Great question. 340 spaces doesn't adequately cover the 12,000 patron parking needs, but certainly within walking distance, there is plenty of other parking options available to the facility. So initially, that parking deck will serve primarily your on-site ADA accessibility and some premium seating parking options. But it is a small percentage of the overall parking need for the facility, which is adequately supported by the remaining parking available in the area.
Just a follow-up to that. So give me, I haven't been to one of the CAA sessions in a while, but can you give me an understanding of what the actual capacity is downtown? Is there an additional,
There's about-
11,500 spots in downtown that would be available?
Yeah, it's about 16,000 spaces within a 15-minute walking distance.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions or comments? Yes, Commissioner Kallman. Oh,
What was first?
he already had a question.
Yeah.
I guess I'm up. Thanks, Chair.
You're on deck.
So I think I understand the arrangement, but if the parking revenues aren't sufficient to cover the City of Grand Rapids bonds, does the CAA have any obligation to tap like general funds, or would that just come out of City of Grand Rapids general funds?
I believe since the city of Grand Rapids is bonding, they would be responsible for that. It wouldn't fall on the county for responsibility. We have Josh here to maybe share some more details.
So just to clarify, the unrestricted revenues are all CAA revenues. So just like they treat their finances for the two facilities that they manage, they aren't individually treated. If one is lower this year and the other one is higher, then that's how their finances work. So the funding that we committed would come from that. So that's their obligation. But they do have a reserve as well. And then ultimately there's a waterfall in the current operating agreement that we have with the CAA for if it was to default on a payment, how that is treated.
So just to clarify, so the CAA is obligated to the debt payments regardless of revenues?
Correct. Yep. They are taking out a loan essentially to build a parking garage, and that's an obligation of theirs. That's an organizational obligation that they'll use their unrestricted revenues from all of their facilities to cover. And then their reserve kicks in, and then there's a waterfall that goes after that.
Okay. Interesting. That makes me a little nervous that like the CAA is basically, I mean, it's technically the full faith and credit of the city of Grand Rapids, but that if the underlying backstop is the CAA. So I guess I didn't realize that. I'll have to ponder that aspect. I do also think, I don't know specifically, like the Convention and Arena Authority, is expanding in scope of what it does, and even just the name, and not suggesting we have to alter its name, but that is something I think in coming years we should like revisit kind of the scope and mission of the CAA and make sure we're just thinking that through strategically and not just, picking off projects just because they're coming along and putting them in the CAA. So just a comment. Thank you.
Commissioner Wooden?
Thank you, Chair. I actually had my previous questions answered, but in light of Commissioner Coleman's comments, I do at least want to share a few points I think are helpful. One, to my knowledge, whether it's the airport, whether it's the city of Grand Rapids, bonding for parking and debt service on bonding for parking have never been an issue. Even in the depths of the recession, to my knowledge, bond payments on parking decks are almost never a problem, given people always still need to park. Then two, as we see here in the action request and in the resolution, the CAA has to fund that debt reserve account that's equal to 150% of annual debt service payments on the bonds to the city. But then lastly, at least when it comes to the expanded scope, to my knowledge, they currently at least do they own the parking underneath DeVos Place?
Yes.
Thank you.
Al, is there something that you want to
Yeah,
add?
I would just say that when you're looking at probabilities, the odds of the waterfall kicking in would be if the CAA went bankrupt. I mean, that's what it would take, and I think that's highly unlikely. It didn't happen in the Great Recession. So I would just make that comment.
Any other questions or comments? All right, seeing none. All those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes. All right, that brings us to our next item from the Administrator's Office. It's the fiscal year 2025 Prevention Initiative funding allocations.
Action requested. Recommend to the Board of Commissioners to approve the allocation of $1,091,250 in prevention programming as recommended by the Administrator's Office. Summary. The Board of Commissioners created the Prevention Programming Fund in 2002 to support the county's prevention initiative. The initiative was designed to fund early interventions that prevent costly social and health problems among families. Examples of previous prevention services include Family Futures helped fund 136 families during 1 quarter of the year to obtain housing, healthcare, and parenting support. In 1 year, Kent School Services Network staff held one-on-one check-ins with 1,500 students to discuss social, emotional, health, academic, and other issues. 6 organizations responded to an RFP to implement prevention and family support services beginning in FY 2025. Staff from the Administrator's Office, Kent County Community Action, and the Health Department reviewed the proposals and recommended funding allocations for board approval. The review committee prioritized proposals that were not duplicative of other county-funded programs, served specific populations at risk of social and health problems, and proposed efficient use of county funds. The 2025 adopted budget included $1,091,250 for prevention initiative programming. The recommended allocation funds 6 agencies serving young parents and families facing significant risk factors such as homelessness, domestic violence, and involvement with child protective services. Assistant Corporate Counsel will review and approve the agreements as to form.
All right, thank you. Is there a motion for this item? Moved by Commissioner Oliver King. Is there support? Support by Commissioner Hildebrand. Questions, comments? Commissioner Hildebrand.
Thank you, Chair. Are these general fund dollars? I know they're included in the fiscal year 25 budget.
Yes.
Okay. And just follow, I think some of this, when we did our planning session or our rating prioritization session last week, I think there was some prevention dollars programming that was part of that. I'd be curious just to flag for the future where that stood as kind of a prioritization from the board standpoint. And just to maybe review this in the future. It's a pretty big investment, and I think it's something that we ought to take a look at to make sure it's a priority of the county commissioners that sit around this dais.
Sure.
Thank you.
Commissioner Green.
Yeah, I think the other thing, just from a process perspective, not related to this specifically, but as we go through stuff in the year, if we can flag, hey, by the way, that's this, that we talked about earlier on, as we went through that process, like where it fits, I think that would be helpful too.
Like on an agenda
Maybe on an
request
agenda or
or-
just in conversation, but yeah, just as a contextualization. So, thank you.
All right, any other questions or comments? All right, seeing none, all those in favor, please say yes. Yes. All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes. That brings us to Commissioner Miscellaneous. Is there any Commissioner Miscellaneous today? All right. Easy peasy. Our next meeting will be on Tuesday, October 15 at 8:30 a.m. We'll see you then.